I never thought I'd see a 40-something woman climb into a full-sized bulldozer, fire up the engine like she was about to invade a small country, and scream that she'd end my construction herself, all while that steel monster pointed directly at the cabin I'd just spent days building. And the worst part? She did it on land I legally owned. If I hadn't sprinted up that hill at that exact moment, this story might have ended with a very expensive insurance claim, or a crime scene. But let me back up a little, because none of this started with heavy machinery or sheriff cruisers flying down a dirt road. It started with peace, silence, a creek running through 40 acres of green hills that 3 of my best friends and I had finally managed to buy after months of searching. We wanted a getaway spot. No noise, no neighbors, no responsibilities. Just camping, fishing, cooking over the fire, and acting like teenagers again. For the first hour, it was perfect. We parked under this huge oak tree like it was our new guardian, unloaded the coolers, opened that first ice-cold beer, and breathed in that sweet country air. And right when I was thinking, man, this was worth every penny, the world tore open with a scream that did not belong in nature. "Hey, what do you think you're doing on my property?" I turned around, and there she was, Karen in her natural habitat, early 40s, sunglasses, even though we were in the shade, hands on hips, marching toward us like she was leading a hostile takeover of the entire valley. She didn't slow down, didn't ask a question, didn't blink. She went straight to yelling, "This is private land. You can't camp here." "Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my voice from laughing, "we own this land. Bought it last week. I've got the paperwork." "I don't need to see your fake paperwork," she snapped. Behind me, Jeff whispered, "Bro, we just unlocked the final boss on day 1. I tried again calmly, but that only made her angrier. She threatened to call the sheriff, called us trespassers, criminals, outsiders. Then she spun around and stormed off, muttering loud enough for everyone in the valley to hear, "Idiots. I won't let them ruin my trails." Trails. The place was pure, untouched grass. We tried to ignore it. We fished, we grilled, we laughed, we even dared each other to jump into the freezing creek. But as the sun set, we noticed her standing near the fence line, arms crossed, just staring at us, not saying a word, just standing there like a neighborhood scarecrow powered by spite. That night in my tent, I kept replaying it. Who storms onto someone else's property like that? Why was she so angry, and why did she look offended that we were simply existing on land that wasn't hers? The next morning answered everything. We woke to loud knocking on the camper door. Sheriff's deputy, hat badge, whole uniform. Karen stood behind him, arms crossed, smugger than a cat that ate your canary and is now chewing your Wi-Fi cable. "Morning, folks," the deputy said, tired in a way that made me believe he'd met Karen before. "Got a trespassing complaint." I handed him the deed, the contract, all the official documents. He checked them, nodded, and turned to her. "Ma'am, they own the land." Her jaw locked. It must be forged. "Ma'am," he said again, rubbing his temples like her existence caused migraines, "don't make false reports." He left. She didn't. Oh no, Karen was just getting warmed up. Before noon, she had summoned animal control, game warden, sheriff again, some kind of environmental guy from 2 towns over, all because we dared to camp on land we bought with our own money. By day 2, she had backup, 2 mini Karens, both wearing expressions like they'd smelled a skunk, but were too polite to admit the skunk was themselves. They marched up to our camp and announced they were the community board. "There is no HOA out here," I said. "We have a Facebook group," she replied, dead serious, "and we have decided you must leave within 24 hours. Jeff choked on his coffee. Sam nearly dropped his toast. That was the moment I realized we were dealing with a special subtype of suburban wildlife, the self-appointed governance Karen. And believe me, she escalated fast. By day 3, she marched toward us with a whole entourage, 7 people with clipboards, binoculars, safety vests. It looked like she'd assembled a task force made entirely of retired hall monitors. "We're here to conduct an inspection," she announced. "Of land you don't own?" I asked. "We represent the Community Preservation Committee," she said proudly. Sam whispered, "She invented that in the car, I swear." They accused us of harming ecosystems. One guy sniffed the air dramatically and said, "I smell smoke." "Yeah," Sam replied, "because we're cooking bacon." I was still laughing when another truck arrived. County Environmental Health, then Code Enforcement. Then a water and land use official named Dale, a guy so seasoned he looked like he'd been dealing with Karens since the caveman era. All of them found 0 violations. But after the 4th agency left, I sat down and something inside me cracked. I started wondering if we'd made a mistake buying this land. If maybe we really were intruding on something important. If maybe leaving would bring peace. I hated that feeling. I hated that someone like Karen could make me doubt something so simple and true. But then she showed her real cards. The moment cabin planning came up, just planning, not even building. Karen snapped. I mentioned a porch, and she gasped, like I'd personally kicked her family dog. You can't build here. This land is sacred. It's private property, I reminded her. Our property. No, she screamed. I forbid it. Jeff muttered, Ah yes, the Queen of the Valley has spoken. The next day, while we were marking cabin measurements, she marched up wearing pajamas and a robe, grabbed one of our survey stakes, yanked it out of the ground, and snapped it in half. Then she screamed for 10 entire minutes, accusing us of ruining the valley, the region, the moral fabric of the universe, whatever she could think of. We kept working, calm, silent. That broke her. She couldn't handle being ignored. You can't just pretend I'm not here, she screamed. Then she said something that finally clicked the puzzle into place. This land has always been mine. That night as the campfire crackled, I thought about it. About her. About the way her voice cracked. About the desperation in her eyes. And for the first time I wondered if this wasn't entitlement. Maybe it was grief. Maybe she'd lost this land in some emotional way long before we ever set foot here. But sympathy or not, the fact remained, she didn't own it. By day 6, construction started. Real contractors, real permits, real work. And that's when Karen escalated from annoying neighbor to local warlord. She brought an entire caravan of SUVs filled with angry volunteers holding signs like Protect Karen's Trail and Save Our Land. One guy had a hard hat, another had a megaphone, and several carried clipboards like weapons. She planted herself in the center of our cabin footprint, threw her arms wide, and shouted, If you want to build here, you'll have to build over my dead body, Jeff whispered. Well, that escalated quickly. Sheriff arrived. Again. This time he wasn't patient. Ma'am, he said, leave these men alone or you will be cited. Her followers backed away like someone had unplugged the cult leader's microphone. Karen stayed, trembling, shaking with fury. And then she broke. You can't do this, she whispered. This was my place. For a moment, just one, I saw a version of her that wasn't a villain. A mom, maybe. Someone who'd built memories here. Someone who never thought the land would be sold. Someone who never imagined strangers would take her sacred place and build cabins on it. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then her face twisted again. You're ruining everything, she spat and stormed off. I should have known then that she wasn't giving up. Day 9 started quiet. Too quiet. Not a sight of Karen. Not a scream. Not a binocular glare. The valley felt wrong. Like the world was holding its breath. And that's when I heard Jeff yell my name. I ran up the hill, heart pounding, and there she was standing beside an enormous orange bulldozer. A real one, full-sized, engine rumbling. A monster pointed directly at our cabin. Karen climbed into the seat, gripping the controls with white knuckles. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't shaking. She was focused. If you won't stop building, she yelled over the engine, then I'll stop it for you. I sprinted, Jeff and Sam right behind me. Karen, don't you dare. She revved the engine. The whole valley trembled. Contractors dropped their tools and ran toward us. Birds scattered. The air filled with dust. Get off my land, she screamed. It's not your land, I yelled back. It should have been mine. Then you should have bought it. That hit her like a slap. Her face twisted with rage and heartbreak. She shoved the throttle. The bulldozer lurched forward. I jumped in front of it. I don't know why. Maybe stupidity. Maybe instinct. Maybe I refused, absolutely refused to let her destroy everything we'd built. Karen, I screamed. If you do this, you destroy your own life, not mine. She hesitated, just for a breath. But it was enough. Sheriff's cruiser flew down the road, siren off, lights flashing. Dale, the county official, right behind him. They skidded to a stop exactly as Karen tried to lurch forward again. Ma'am, the sheriff shouted. Turn it off, now. She ignored him. Karen, he barked. This is felony destruction of property. Everything froze. The valley. The wind. Even the bulldozer engine seemed to hold its breath. Slowly, her hands slipped off the controls. She shut the machine off, and then she just sat there, shoulders shaking, staring at the cabin she couldn't stop. The sheriff climbed up, opened the door, and said quietly, "Step out of the vehicle." She did. No more screaming, no more Facebook committees, no more fake cease and desist flyers printed in Comic Sans. Just a woman who'd finally hit the end of her rope. She walked past me, eyes empty, and whispered, "You ruined everything." But the truth was simple. I didn't ruin anything. I just refused to surrender something I worked for, something I owned, something I believed in. The cabin stood tall behind me, sunlight hitting the beams like a promise. And Karen, she never came back. Sometimes battles aren't about land or rules or paperwork. Sometimes they're about letting go of the things that were never yours to begin with.